Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Ellen Kamhi, the Natural Nurse. You can always find us at naturalnurse.com or through the Florida School of Holistic Living. I want to thank you so much for watching our little presentation here where we're going to just intro the class we will be giving on the happy, healthy brain. You can always join us live. Just click the link below to register. But what's so wonderful at the Florida School is that we have many classes, both by myself and other wonderful teachers by demand. So if you don't join us live, you can still always take the class. Another wonderful thing about this school is that many of our classes offer CE units, and those are for nurse practitioners, nurses, registered dietitians, licensed massage therapists, licensed acupuncturists, midwives. So you can actually learn about natural medicine, learn about herbs and healthy lifestyle activities, and get credit so you can check into those CEU classes. Today, we're going to talk about the happy, healthy brain. So I'm going to bring the slides up and hopefully you can see them. We're going to talk about food, nutrients, and herbs to help sustain cognition, mood, and memory, and the many functions of the brain. Now, this is just going to be a little mini intro about the kinds of topics that we would be addressing. And here's our little happy, healthy brain. We'd like to keep it that way. They're not always that way, but that's how we'd like to keep it. And there are so many nutritional factors that we need to know about for brain health. For instance, folic acid and how it metabolizes through the methylation pathway. If you want to know how your methylation pathway is working, you should get a genetic marker test for MTHR gene. And are you missing it? Is it deficient? If so, you're going to have methylation pathway problems. Sometimes that's genetic. What about phosphatidylserine? That actually is something that can cross the blood-brain barrier and is often deficient, but can be used as a supplement. Uracilic acid, N-acetylcysteine, magnesium. What is the sugar connection to how well your brain is functioning? Amino acids, which are often deficient in many people. There's also an organic acid test that you can get to find out what the status of your amino acids are, and also omega-3 acid. So there's all kinds of ways we can find out, do we have everything we need for our brain health? There are so many new and evolving hormones that are now, just now, being recognized, such as auroxin and hypocretin. This is a nerve that has to do with arousal, wakefulness, and appetite. This is why sleep disorders, such as not getting enough sleep, actually makes you gain weight. Very often people don't even care if they don't get enough sleep, which you should, but they're very interested in the fact that not getting enough sleep leads to weight gain for some reason. Well, this is the reason, because orexin is only produced in a few cells in the hypothalamus, which has to do with brain health. So all kinds of things to find out. What kind of effect does stress have on our brain's wellness? What about serotonin? Feelings of well-being and happiness. You might have heard of serotonin uptake inhibitors. Those are pharmaceutical drugs that tend to help the serotonin balance, but they really don't help it that well, and they really don't help it long term. They're a quick Band-Aid fix, not like natural medicine, which will get in there and let you understand how you can elevate your natural serotonin levels. And by the way, 90% of the total serotonin is located in the gut, as well as 90% of your immune system. The GALT, the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, which is not even recognized by gastroenterologists for a reason I can't explain. Nonetheless, well documented scientifically. So we can look at foods and also herbs that have a higher ratio of tryptophan to leucine and phenylalanine, which increases production of serotonin, such as our own, for those of us that are in tropical areas, bananas, papayas, and dates. Is that one of the reasons that people tend to have a better attitude in those tropical areas? Who knows? That's part of it. Might be just less stressful. And there are foods that with a lower ratio decrease the production of serotonin, such as wheat, which is implicated in so many health issues, and even rye. So rye bread also would decrease. Then there's lots of foods and herbs that help to increase the omega-3 fatty acids, which is what our brain is made from. Herbalists, make sure you know this herb, purslane. Purslane is the vegetarian source of omega-3 fatty acids, the highest vegetarian source of omega-3 fatty acids. Down where I am in Florida, in Deerfield Beach, it doesn't grow too often, but up in northern Florida, you can find it there. And here where I am now in the Northeast, it grows all over the place. It grows through the cracks in the sidewalk, and it's delicious and crunchy. You can just pick those little leaves and eat them fresh or throw them in a salad. So that is purslane. Other things like flaxseed have quite a bit of omega-3 fatty acids. Soybeans have a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, but really your best sources are fatty fish such as salmon, but not if it's farm raised, because then it's not swimming around and it doesn't get those fatty acids developing. So there are things that we can do to help our brain by paying attention to what we put in our mouth. What part of our brain do we need to support? Is it the reflective part, or the perspectives part, or the aspiring part, or the self-perfecting? I know a lot of clients that, to me, seem to be over-involved in self-perfecting to the point of they never reach happiness because they feel they're never good enough. There are actually brain exercises we can get that stimulate one of the sides of the brain or another. But of course, we won't end our presentation without a deep, deep dive into herbs for the brain. Today, remember, we're just doing a little, preview of what you'll learn about. So Ginkgo biloba, that's well known for the brain. Bacopa, major, rosemary, and saffron. There are many other herbs that also are helpful for the brain, but we're going to talk deeply about these four. For instance, looking at the doctrine of signatures, which is one of my favorite teachings in herbal medicine, saying that something about the plant, either its form, will reflect its function. And this is a Ginkgo biloba leaf, and this is the hemisphere of a brain. Interesting, Ginkgo is also used for asthma and bronchial conditions. Think of this thing upside down, such as the bronchial and the two lungs. If we're looking at Bacopa, the Hindu name Brahmi is derived from Brahma, the Hindu creation god. So how special is this herb? It's used traditionally to anoint newborns and to open the gate of Brahma, to increase their intelligence. So it's used in this ancient Hindu tradition to increase intelligence. And then lo and behold, when we study it scientifically, we can find the mechanism of action by which it actually does that ancient activity. So for instance, Bacopa has a mechanism of action using muscarinic acid and the cholinergic receptor binding sites. We'll talk about that more in the lecture, but nonetheless, the concept is ancient Hindu tradition, modern science supports ancient beliefs, and that is true across the board in so many herbal medicine. So for instance, rosemary also. So many stories about rosemary, like squeeze rosemary leaves and sniff it, and it helps your brain to function better. That's something called an old wives' tale. Anything that's an old wives' tale, pay attention to it, because those old wives knew a thing or two, and still do, because then when we study it scientifically, we find out, lo and behold, it's actually true. And we know why. It's because of the activity of rosmarinic acid, the fact that it's a novel, selective T-cell apoptosis inducer. And we know exactly how it acts as a polyphenol antioxidant, which can establish better brain activity. We'll talk about the saffron flower, another really ancient remedy. The part of the saffron that's used is just these little stamens, so that's why it's so expensive, because that's the part that's actually gathered. It has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. It's been tested for neurodegenerative disorders and short-term improvement in cognition, brain health, like we're talking about, memory and learning skills. So a wide array of uses for saffron. So that's what our lecture is going to be about, a deep dive into what you can do to help your brain stay in the best shape as possible. And you can always get in touch with us at naturalnurse.com. I love to help people with career paths in natural health, if that's what you want to do for your living. Also becoming a registered herbalist. I mentor people through that. And evidence-based botanical protocols, as well as the CE credits that we talked about, and also a lot of regulatory for those people who kind of want to make products. That's another whole discussion. And we have a seminar listed on Florida Health about that. So if you'd like to join us for our brain health webinar, you can click the link below. And remember, if you don't join on the live dates, you can always join us through the archives and through on-demand classes. Thank you so much for joining us today, and stay healthy.